Hello guys, what's up and welcome again to the channel. So we have another deck tech here for the standard with the latest in the comic set Avatar, and we'll checking again the one of the new mechanics that they'll introduce. That's basically the firebending mechanic, and I'm trying to do this listing again, having with red and white colors, as I see that there are some of these new card components that we can use and utilize for this deck build. So let's take a look at the initial list. We have 23 creatures, 1 enchantment, 12 instants, 1 sorcery, and 23 lands. So let's take up the creature choices. So this one, basically red and white, so Boros has kind of offered some of these new components that we might see to be useful to this kind of deck build. So let's take a detail on one of them. In this one, we have the one drop here of Hardclaw, where Hardclaw is kind of very suited for this build because of this attack trigger, which later on I will discuss further what will be the reason why. And also that putting this Amazon counters is a one way for you to utilize the firebending mana, in which this would also add up an additional power. And since this activation is only on their turn, but since that opponent has lost life because you have attacked with a trigger, you can basically use the firebending mechanic to generate that mana and use it to pump the hard glow. So there's 4 copies of this in the deck. For the 2 drops, if you have seen my previous video discussing the Mardu tokens or the Mardu firebending mechanic, this feature has somewhat come up for that deck tech video. So fire sages again here, I will consider 4 copies because also you need to have creatures to add mana, and also it is good on the curve, and later on can be used to pump up to make it a bigger threat and attack. So that is 4 copies. We have 2 copies of Firebending Student. This is one of the recently rebuilt cards. So this creature is a human monk with a prowess. So trigger +1 for each non-creature spell, and it can firebend X equal to its power. So as a more burn spells or non-creature spells you cast, you get to also to benefit this firebending mechanic as you add this one. So we have 2 copies of that in the deck. I've also considered again Voice of Victory. So this card particularly works well because it's not only protects your board from instant shenanigans from your opponent during your turn because they cannot cast. It also gets you to mobilize, making the number of creatures and attacking more efficiently. And much more later on, I will see how this also a good mechanic to add in favor also of the firebending. And the last 2 drop here would be Arabella Abandoned Doll. This also goes with the Voice of Victory effect because it can deal X damage equal to the number of creatures you control with power 2 or less. At the same time, it is another attack trigger, which again goes with our main strategy. And later on, I will see to it that you will know how it works. And in addition to that, so your 3rd drop here, or 3 mana drop, is Suki, Courageous Rescuer. So this is a human warrior ally that goes to be a 2/4 creature but has a pseudo effect of Anthem to add +1/+0 to other creatures. And whenever a permanent you control leaves the battlefield during your turn, you will create a 1/1 white ally creature token. So that's free token creature to your board. At the same time, it also gets, in case that we need permanent to leave your battlefield, then you have tokens from the Voice of Victory that sacrifice at the end of your turn, and also triggers Suki for that ability. Now for the 3rd drops, we have again Zuko, Exiled Prince, as one of the use firebending ability to add 3 mana during combat when it attacks, and can also get you some card advantage, and also a good attacker on its own with a 4 power. And the new inclusion here would be Sun Warriors. This is another firebending ability, but it depends on the number of creatures you control. It will add X, at the same time it is a good 3-5 power and toughness, and as a good mana sink for the firebending later on to create this ally creature tokens. So it works well here with Sun Warriors and also Voice of Victory, because you just need to stack your triggers properly, enable for you to benefit to maximize the number of creatures firebending effect, so that you can get to produce that huge mana and do some of those value during the combat. And one way that I have mentioned here before we go for this enchantment is this specific spree card from Outlaws of Thunder Junction. That's Great Train Heist. What it does, that you can just spree it for 4 extra 1 red and then 3 for the extra spree. On top of creatures you control, if it's your combat space, there's an additional combat phase after this phase. So that's basically an extra combat. If you have more mana later on, also creatures you control gets +1/+0 and gain first strike, and also have this bonus also to whenever creature control does combat damage, you will create a tap t-shirt token. So but basically the spree effect for this one, getting an extra combat phase, would be really powerful for this kind of deck build in the firebending mechanic, because you will able to trigger again the firebending, you will trigger again the mobilize, and also gets to benefit those extra damage such as that of Arabella and hard claw effect that can also trigger for that additional combat phase. That way you can swing on some huge chunks of damage. In the same time, if you have also other effects, you would also get to trigger that at instant speed with this firebending value. And the other instance here are basically just spot removals. Of course, damage to the bone is also important with the lightning helix. You can also have a burst lightning with a kicker effect, because of course firebending lets you to pay additional 4 to deal 4 damage to the single target. And also on some of the utility creature or spell here, additional speed is explosive derailment, wherein you can deal 4 damage to any attacker, or you can destroy an artifact and return the favor, which also gets you some shenanigans, of course, by copying instant spells or activated ability, sorcery spells, or triggered ability. And can also protect your creature by changing the target of target spell for spot removal with a single target to another target of your choosing. So that is your instance particularly. And in support of this setup is of course your enchantment I have mentioned earlier, the Faded Firepower. So let's take a look again at the card. It is pay X for red. It centers with X fire counters. If a source you control will deal damage to an opponent or permanent opponent controls, it deals that much damage plus an amount of damage equal to the fire counters on this enchantment. So later on, you can deal some huge chunks, particularly if you have a lot of firebending mana, as well as maybe your extra mana to pay for X for the Faded Firepower to deal that significant amount of damage, and even doing an alpha strike in some scenario. And for the sorcery, of course, we need a lot of board presence, so we have United Front as one way to do that. You can create X11 white ally creature tokens and then put a presumption counter on this creature control, particularly propping up your board. Your board will also get you some of this extra damage to have and finish off opponents as quickly as possible. And for the land choices, I think we'll still have going more with the red mana. So the choices here is that you can still have mountain as your main basic land. In support also are Sacred Foundries, the dual lands, Inspiring Vantage for the check lands, and 2 copies of Sunbelow Birch. I only have 2 because you would need to have red mana as early as possible, and this would also satisfy you for initially white, and would need a mountain to get the 2 colors. So in addition, also 1 copy of this Rockface Village would also help out to haste your lizard creature. 1 copy of the Soulstone Sanctuary to also have an additional creature, and also all creature types in this deck, and Secret Tunnel, which also gets you to have this trigger. Not particularly the cave that having this can be blocked, but this important second ability wherein 2 target creatures you control the chair creature type can't be blocked this turn. So you can see here, we have mostly have same creature type like humans. All of them are basically human, so making them unblockable would also be beneficial in some instances wherein you need to attack with some good chunks of damage. And let's take a look at the deck stats. It's going more with reds, of course, with 33 here, a little white with 19, but production is going well with more red, so I think there's no problem producing those kinds of colors. And average mana value is 2.05, but having, I think, 23 lands here would also be a good choice because you have some mana sink in the late game, and of course you would need some extra lands for that to gain that function. And let's check on the tokens. We have only 2 tokens, treasure token and the warrior token from the Voices of Victory. So I guess that's pretty much it for this deck tech. I know that would still have to improve this more as more of the card previews are revealed, so we might have another video here once the full spoiler is now out. So particularly, we are still preparing for how this deck would turn out well, or would it become a new version of the red aggro based in the metagame of standard for the coming the last avatar set to join the format. And guys, we have again Boros Firebender as our deck tech for today's video. Don't forget to like, subscribe. We can still have more of these notifications on, and see you guys on the next video upload.